Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Check it out. Today we are doing the full unboxing, inspection, and setup of the SwellPro SplashDrone 4. This is the new one from SwellPro everybody's been waiting for. As you know, I live in Hawaii. We're going to be doing full-on flight tests, dunking it in the salt water here off the shore, doing fishing, doing range tests, all kinds of stuff. So anyway, let's get into it with the initial video of the SplashDrone 4. Let's do it. Okay guys, you may be wondering what this small box is on top. Now this is an optional camera gimbal you can get which has LED lighting, high intensity lighting for fishing. So we're going to open this up after we explore the actual SplashDrone 4. So this is going to be the first time I'm looking at it, and it's going to be with you guys. So let's do it. Just kind of in this pressurized injected molded foam case, kind of like what the Phantom 4 drones used to come with. Here's the handle that kind of pulls out, kind of like not really spring loaded, but similar to some other cases. It does kind of have this film if you did want to take this off. I'm not going to take it off, but it's got like this protective kind of plastic film on here if you wanted to take it off and have a nice and shiny SwellPro plastic logo. You could do that. Here we go. Let's open this up. A little bit tight. Let's pop it. And there it is. Wow. A little bit of a circular little thing in the top of the case, kind of showing you what all comes in the case. But we want to see what's in here, and look at this. So man, I am so excited. I got 2 batteries. So these are those batteries, guys. These are the ones that are just gonna slide right into the outside. You don't have to take this thing off anymore. Remember from the beginning, all up until the SplashDrone 4, this one here, you had to unscrew the top compartment, open it, and then you had to take in and out your battery. As soon as you plugged on your battery, it would power on. Let me take out the things around the drone first, and then we'll bust into the actual SplashDrone 4. So here's the controller. Now remember, the SplashDrone series didn't have any waterproof controllers, but now this one is waterproof, kind of like the Spry. Remember the Spry 1 and 2? They had those controllers you could just throw in the water. If you got them wet, no problem. Now they're making the SplashDrone waterproof as well, so that's very exciting. It's got all these buttons all around it for all these different kinds of modes. You can see how everything is rubberized and waterproof. Nice big clamp on top, which we're going to break into as soon as we get into all this other stuff. Bag of some extra screws, so I definitely don't want to lose those screws. Over on the left side looks like our drop mechanism. Cool. It looks like this one is going to have a separate area to put the drop mechanism in. You see how that thing works? It's just like a waterproof servo, and by a switch it will allow you to drop things. Now these guys are known to carry like 2 pounds, so if you're like Aloha fishing or big game fishing, you can carry a rig that's up to like 2 pounds out there. The connectors are quite different now. You see how they're going to screw on to the bottom? So hopefully that made them even more waterproof than before. Some more screws and a little bit of O-rings on the left side there. Let's just take out these 2 batteries while we got this thing open before we get to the drone. These are massive batteries, man. I hope we have a lot of flight time with this one. We have to take out these little side stoppers first. These little foam inserts, little trays that can hold other stuff in there. So that's pretty cool, little compartment trays. Cool, I see propellers and a power plug down there. Now we should be able to just pop this guy out. Woo! Okay guys, so what did they throw in here for me? I think they threw in an extra set of propellers. So these are the same looking carbon fiber from the SplashDrone 3 and 3 Plus. They had the new twist lock propellers. So these look like the same kind of propellers. SwellPro is really good at actually providing a really solid instruction book with their drones. So definitely be going over this to make sure you know how to use the whole thing, which I'll be showing you throughout this series of videos, so maybe you won't even have to read this. Another little kind of spacer here. It looks like this has some sticky tape on it, so move things around and protect things in the case as you see fit. Wow, there's just all sorts of kind of little doohickeys and doodads that they really kind of Tetris in here. Looks like they got the USB cables in this little box here that we had to take out. That one's got kind of like the power adapter on the front to USB, and a little micro USB, so one of those little older style, the D style micros to USB there. Digging deeper, I'm seeing this looks like the gimbal. We're gonna open that in just a second. I just want to get everything out of the box. Last set of items are our wall plug here, and this looks like a Mac Daddy battery charger. It's got a little bit of protective film on it. Oh, there we go. So we have a USB in the plug as well, so it looks like you can charge your controller while your drone is charging, and there is the battery connector. So it looks like initially just one battery at a time we can charge with what they give us in the box. So I'm just looking for anything I'm missing, nothing else whatsoever. Let's get this box off the table and look at this drone. So definitely a really sturdy carrying case. I mean, that's like what you need when you're kind of going out and about and doing all of your adventures. You need a solid drone case. Okay, so yes, don't worry, we are going to be looking in these two boxes to check out the gimbal cameras we got with this drone. But man, look at this thing. So we got the same kind of motor setup. You see waterproof motors over here. Of course, these are waterproof, but just like with any motors and that have copper in them and stuff, they're coated. But you always want to wash them off with fresh water and then fly the thing again just to make sure they completely dry out. Blow drying them if you can't fly. Just get all that water residue out of there, even the fresh water, after you're done. What I was wondering about is how they're using their barometer on this. I remember the other splash drones, they all had a kind of a waterproof breathable membrane, kind of a barometric membrane, so that it could know the altitude a little bit better. So I think what these guys are doing is they're making like a cover here, which you can actually just pull off. Let's see if that works. Cool. So it's just like a press on cover, and then that's our little barometric membrane. So that's going to basically allow the air pressure to kind of be variable with inside the drone without letting water inside, so that it can actually be more accurate on its altitude hold. So really kind of liking that they protected it, because I remember on the old ones it was just kind of open, and you know, the dirt, dust, your hands could get on it to really scuff that thing up. So now they have this great little theory of just putting on this little protective cover so that nothing can really touch it, but it can actually breathe through these little holes on the sides. There's a high intensity LED light on the very top. We've got this whole new battery door system. So a twist lock here, and if we look at it here, it's got a button here with little light compartments on the front, so we can see there's a little hinge here, kind of like an action cam little latch here. Very cool. So it's a dual lock. Pop this up, pull it out. Look at that. So a full-on hinge to prevent us from accidentally unlocking it and getting water in this area. So this is definitely going to be sealed. So they don't want water to get in here, because you can see back in there, this is open to the electronics inside. So you're not going to want to get any water in here. And that's why they have this full-on rubber seal all the way around. At least you can change your battery quickly without having to open the top. That was a real hassle, but just really have to be careful not to get any water in here, and that's why they have this thing all sealed up. So these are just pass-through buttons and pass-through little light displays here once you put the battery in, and let's do that real quick. As you can see, we have the battery connectors on the very bottom inside, those copper looking things. We're going to take our battery, and while we have it here, let's just see how big the battery is. So we're looking at a max charge of 16.88, so this is a 4S, nominal 14.8. Rated capacity 6,600 mAh. Wow, so their biggest battery yet, guys. I think their other ones were in the 5,000 area. So this is a big old battery. It does have a little micro USB port there. So I'm not sure exactly what that is, but possibly to access the firmware, or maybe possibly even to slow charge it with a USB. We're gonna have to find all that out. So let's try to put this thing inside. Just remember that we need the battery connectors on the bottom, and let's give it a slide in, and let's see how this works. So I'm feeling it. Yeah, so you can kind of feel that thing kind of notch in. So you're gonna want to push it to notch it in. And then our door, definitely really important to make sure there's no dirt or dust or sand around this seal. There is a black seal around the very bottom here. We want to really make sure there's no debris on there. And that just kind of can close, pop the battery over, clip it shut, so we know that that thing is solid. And then one more thing we got to do is turn this knob, so as long as that arrow is pointing towards you, towards the battery bay, you're good to go. Pressing it once, cool. So we have an instantaneous state of charge here. Looks like it's about 60% probably charged for shipping. So look what they've done to the antennas. Now this is fantastic. This is definitely going to be waterproof between the inside of the drone and the antenna, of course. You can see the antenna coming through the connector there. So it's really going to be important that they waterproofed all that. But look at what they've done here. They've chose to do kind of a universal antenna mounting system. So I remember in my past reviews, I complained about, since the nipple of the antenna was on the bottom only, video and control in certain situations where you were landing in the water, if you plan to land in water and look under the water with the camera. Since the antennas were only in one orientation, it was hard to get the best of both worlds. But now they allow you to do that. So one of these antennas is going to be for the video transmission, and one should be for the control transmission. And not only does it rotate, but you can also lock it down in any orientation you want. So say you wanted it in the top, screw this thing down, and look at that, it stays on the top and it will not move as long as this little collar here is screwed down. You want it on the bottom, unscrew it, screw it in. It looks like on the bottom though, it kind of has this notch that keeps it out a little bit. Or look at this, you want it to be sideways only, lock it down sideways and you have a sideways antenna. I've been wanting them to do this from the SplashDrone 2, and it looks like they've possibly listened to us reviewers, listened to us guys that really put these things through the test and have made the changes. Same with the other side, you can put it on any position you want. You can have one out the side, you can have one out the top. Now this one does have an automatic flip over mechanism where if you do, for some reason, a swell hits it and this thing goes underneath the water, there is a sequence where it will flip itself back up. So we're going to be testing all that. The legs look just about the same, maybe a little bit of a change. They made the joints a little bit sturdier. The old ones were a little bit more flimsy, and that was one of my complaints, is after a while this silicone would crack, but it looks like they made them much more robust and thicker, even though they still are like a 3-piece joint system. Doohickey here on the back of the bottom left leg. This is actually a compass sensor, so apparently you don't want to really touch this, take it off. I thought maybe it was some kind of apparatus to attach line to or something to clip in there, but don't want to mess with that. That's just like a compass sensor, so its heading is correct, like on your display on your app, and also it knows kind of where it's going, where it's headed. So it's like a whole new bottom. It looks like it's magnesium. This part might be plastic, and then this is probably magnesium. And this is interesting too, as we get up into the light pods here. Those are two high intensity LED lights in there with kind of a smoked clear white finished light pod, and it looks like the light is going to shine directly down and then flood out the sides as well out here. This is all plastic. This part, believe it or not, is actually metal, so it's like a little metal chunk here, aluminum or magnesium. So it's like they're going with like a whole all-in-one kind of flight control linking system. And so these are all waterproof ports. So these are just plugs in there right now. SDK port, payload port. So we're gonna need to unscrew this to attach our payload, which we're gonna do in just a second. I'll show you how to do all that. And then the gimbal camera port. A little something I totally missed here, guys. If you notice here inside the case on the right, as you open the case, this is a little Allen wrench. I went through all the bags and I was wondering, there should be an Allen wrench, right, to like take off and on the little compartments we got to unscrew. Would have been kind of neat if they could put like maybe some yellow tape or like a little red dot or something, just because that you notice that when that's in there, it just totally blends in with the case and you could really easily miss that. It's always little things that I'm kind of mentioning that possibly drone manufacturers can make a little better. So remember, the controller is supposed to be waterproof, so you can drop this thing in the water, salt or fresh water can splash on it. These are the antennas on top. If we open these guys up, just basically regular antennas, and there are real antennas inside there. You can see that little black wire going all the way up inside. So both of them do have the antennas. This top toggle switch is GPS, ADI, or custom mode. And that's just a little tiny toggle switch, a 3-way switch there. And same thing on the top left, but this is saying gear up, gear down, and auto. Continuing on to the top on the right side, there is a roller, so a trigger roller that's underneath this waterproof silicone membrane, but it still turns and then snaps back. You have a picture button there, just like a 1-click. Same kind of roller on the left side, and then we have a record button here on the left, the 1-click. So that's going to be for recording and taking pictures, moving the gimbal up and down, possibly left and right. We're going to figure that out in the flight test. Of course, our sticks, you know, very springy, very tough sticks here. Getting into the clamp. So this is what I was wondering, if this could fit like an iPad mini. That would be pretty awesome if it could. So let's see if it can. There's just basically a thumb screw. This is all aluminum. There's a thumb screw. We can back that out, and you can see how this thing goes basically up and down. That's as far out as it can go, and it really doesn't look like it can fit a mini. I do have a mini here, and let's see if it fits. Not quite, man. We're about an inch shy, so that is a bummer. You know, why not just make this thing another inch? Because the iPad mini, I find, is probably the best bet for a bigger screen on any kinds of these drones or submarines, all this stuff that uses like a actual FPV screen, and you need some kind of a smart tablet or phone. So that's clamping in there and really tight. Just gotta make sure you're not hitting your buttons and stuff, because this one doesn't really have a groove for the buttons. So that's going to be kind of how it's going to be working for me right now. So there is a little lanyard clip here. So if you have one, they don't provide one in the box, but if you wanted to put a lanyard, there's where you're going to clip it on there. And here's a couple buttons on the front. So a bunch of buttons, actually. You can see all these things up and down. And the main ones are the power. So that's the power off and on. Looks like if we're going to hold it to turn it on. If you didn't want to use the app, or if you just wanted to quickly check this little screen here, it has all that information. So it looks like just a hold on, and then just a click and hold off. Return to home right here. We've got follow me function there. Normal and smooth for these dials. Now, if you remember the SplashDrone 3 and 3 Plus, they kind of had these dials to adjust the speed, like if you're doing orbits and stuff. So it's to go faster or slower. This one over here feels like it's a lot harder to turn, so maybe slight QC issue there with trying to make this thing waterproof. This is just incredibly hard. I can barely turn it with these two fingers, where this one feels like maybe it's how it was supposed to be. So maybe this one will work loose a little bit. And what they're saying for boat mode is you can actually land the drone on the water. Once it's on the water, you press this in boat mode, and you can kind of drive it like a boat on the water. So I guess they made a specific mode for controlling it. Kind of interesting. I remember that you could kind of control it even though it didn't have like a boat mode before, but apparently they thought it might be better just to have a designated mode for floating on the water. Payload left, payload right, and gimbal mode. And of course, I mentioned the screen also does have this little film here, protective film. If you want to take that off, you can. Sometimes it's good to leave that stuff on with this kind of controller, where it's going to be in different like environments and water and stuff like that. One little LED light on the bottom front there. Flipping the controller over does have a built-in battery. It's not saying like where that battery information is on here, but it does have this little pull down guy. And basically all that is for is where you plug in to charge it. Okay, controller completed. Let's move on to these two little guys. These are basically the last two things in the box that we haven't opened up yet. So let's start with one of them, and then we'll go to the other one. So these are what the gimbals come in, the gimbal cameras. Let's see what this one is. Let's pull this thing out. Oh, nice. So this is the, is this the GC3S? Roll, pitch, and yaw. So this is a full-on 4K camera. Let's go ahead and peel off this little lens protector here. I'm just going to leave that film on for right now, just in case. It seems like there's a little bit of glue stuck on here on the bottom. Not sure what that's from. But anyway, that's it. And then there's the connector. They're going with this new kind of screw-in waterproof connector system little bit different than those other ports they had. Remember, they were kind of those rounder plastic waterproof ports. And that's where we've got a little micro USB, you know, kind of the traditional D connector, the old style. And then it has a memory card slot. So definitely gonna need to remember to put a memory card in there. And it looks like there's a little like reset dimple. Remember, this is waterproof, so probably a good idea to put some of that like silicone grease on these, like I always recommend for any water stuff that's going to go down in the water. And then you're really going to make sure you push this on there really good before you go in the water, because if any water gets in there, your camera's basically done. One little bag actually in the box, and it looks like it's just to service the camera. It's got a bunch of screws. Then it looks like it has an O-ring in case your O-ring wears out. This is just that drop mechanism, so you're going to screw it up onto the drone like this. So we're going to be able to put this drop mechanism separately with this high definition 4K 3-axis camera here. So that's a feat in itself. You know, you usually didn't get that combo with the other versions, but it looks like we can put all of that on there at once this time. See how that works? The pin, when you flip the switch or hit the drop on the controller, it's just gonna pull that out or push it in. So you're gonna be able to drop some big bait out there in the water for some big game fishing. So anyway, that's the release mechanism. Let's open the last box. Let's see if this is what I think it is. All right, what do we have here, guys? Unbox it. Wow, it's really in there. Take out this first. Another little package with those little screws and an O-ring. And I'm thinking that O-ring is just the O-ring to put it on the mount where it mounts up to the actual drone. Wow, so this is a big old thing. That's empty in that box. And let's check this thing out. Pull that right off. Ooh, yeah, look at this. So this is the one, if you're night fishing, you're gonna wanna get this one. You can see here how we're rolling side to side, left and right, and then it's gonna pitch. So you can look down and see where you're dropping your bait, and you're gonna be all lit up with this high intensity LED. That's awesome. And of course, it's got a little piece of film on the camera. We're gonna take that off. It's not gonna stabilize. Remember, it's yaw. It can't go left and right this way. So that's going to be possibly a little bit jittery left and right. And then we have our waterproof port with the same SD card slot, micro USB connector, and a little reset switch. Anyway, 1080 with a big old LED light. Take your O-ring and then just put it right over. And see how that works? So that's just sealing that whole thing before you screw it up to the drone. Okay guys, well I think it's time to connect these cameras. Basically, you're gonna use these 4 screw holes here, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's basically gonna coincide to these 4 screw holes here, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's just gonna slap up right like that. So just grabbing our Allen wrench provided in the package. This little port here, it says gimbal camera, and that's the one we want to just unscrew. Pop this little cover off, and you see there's the connectors. Just using a little bit of silicone grease, and you can get this, guys, from your favorite hardware store, anything like that. It's called silicone grease, and I've found that anything that's going to be touching the water, it's just really good to use a little dab of this, but it does pick up dirt and dust and sand a little more, right? Looks like it'd be better to put this in before I bolt the whole gimbal up, just because it's going to be kind of under the gimbal. So seems like it's sturdy enough to just kind of hang from the cable a little bit. If you did see my SplashDrone 3 test, man, that gimbal was hanging from that cable for a while after it came loose when I did a dunk test really fast and hard in the water. I'm just going to use the same screws we took out. Also might be a good idea, I'm seeing here, to use a little bit of thread lock on these screws. I'm just going to put one in. So that does feel like it's got some bite to it, and it doesn't feel like it's going to really come loose. If you were kind of wary about that, just go ahead and put a little bit of that blue Loctite on the tip of these screws. But they do feel like they're biting in there pretty good. Okay, so that's done. Port is attached, guys. We're gonna have to get our little screw bag and get 4 new little screws that came with the camera. Actually 4 extra in there, so you have a few extra just in case with each camera. So as you can see, I'm just gonna be lining this up and screwing these 4 in. Wrench here, the Allen wrench. It's kind of like one of those rounded pivot points, so you can actually angle it in It looks like you need to a little bit, and that thing is not going anywhere. Again, definitely recommended if you feel like you need to put that Loctite on there, go ahead and do that. But it does feel like they're biting in enough into that aluminum that they're not going to come loose anytime soon. Okay, fantastic. And there we have it, guys. You see how that guy's all mounted up. Basically the cable is just really nicely kind of in like a zigzag Z pattern in the back there, not being pinched. There's a little bit of space there. I want to take off this little section and put on this payload release mechanism as well. So hopefully it'll all fit on there. Let's see if we can get all this stuff on here at once. Okay, so for the payload, same deal. We just need to take off the door cover that is to the port, which seems to be already stripping, which is unfortunate. So be really careful. I mean, this wrench and these screws do not seem to be very good. Maybe not the best quality tools they're giving in the package. They may want to assess that if they're going to put these kinds of tools in there. Okay, wow, so that was really close. I almost stripped this thing to be on being able to take it out. So I got a new set here. This is my Bondus set of Allen wrenches. So that's probably why they give you a few extra screws. They're just not using the best quality metal in these screws. And unfortunately, that's the case, but you know, you're going to hear the truth here from me. That's just how it goes. Definitely want to put a good screw back in that spot when we put it back in. Anyway, taking this out, and you can see it's the same type of deal here. Silicone grease again on this, just so it gets a really good seal. Pushing it in. Note to SwellPro, maybe include a little bit higher quality wrench in there, because it seemed like the wrench was also stripping, possibly as much as the screws were. So that's what happens when you have bad quality metal and kind of bad tolerance in your tools, right? Making sure that's all seated and ready to go. And then last but not least, guys, is mounting up the drop mechanism. And it looks like it can only go this way with the servo kind of over the port here. If you try to go this way, it just doesn't work. The cable gets stretched too long, so there really is only one way. So basically just lining up the two holes, getting two new screws here, and securing it down. This sucker is mounted, ready to go. All right, guys, so done deal. That's what they look like, all mounted up. We got our drop mechanism. It is a little bit wiggly, but it is a pretty hardcore bracket. And that basically is maxing out the bottom of this drone. There is no more room for any other peripherals to attach. So if you did want to put the different camera on, remember it's going to go in place of this camera here. So you have to switch those out. Okay, guys, so let's get going with booting this thing up, getting the app installed on the iPad. I want to say it took about a half hour to 45 minutes to charge both of these things up. You can charge the controller at the same time as one battery. The only thing about the battery, it took me a little while to figure this out. When you plug it in here, it won't start charging. It just sits there and does nothing. You actually have to do the press and hold like you would to start the drone up, or other drones as well, for it to even start charging. Once you do that, it starts charging. So if you're wondering what's up with that and you have one of these SD Fly photo and video, go ahead and get it and download this thing. SwellPro does say that if you wanted to get a clamp that fits your tablet, you can actually get one from their website. It is kind of unfortunate they don't put one in the box. Apparently they do say that they make one, but you just have to make sure you get that extra. Since this uses like a wireless, remember 5G only wireless system, so you gotta have a device that supports 5G Wi-Fi connection. So we want the controller on first, and then we're gonna turn on the drone. So click. See the lights come up, click and hold. All of them come up flashing on the top. That gimbal down below is doing its thing. You see it down there? It's actually kind of calibrating itself. And we had that kind of beep tone, and everything is ready to go. Right now it's connecting to the controller. Really high intensity strobe light for like night flying, if you're night fishing or whatever. Already stabilizing itself, you see that? So this is a, remember, 2-axis gimbal. So it's stabilizing, it's keeping level when I'm tilting it forward, and also rolling. You see how that gimbal is actually staying perfectly level. Not going to do anything this way, right? I'm still getting that gear has been opened sign on there. So let's see what happens if I just press a little toggle here. I'm going to flip it up. There we go. Controller is already emitting that 5G Wi-Fi signal. It's ready to connect to our iPad or other smart device. So all we need to do is go into our Wi-Fi settings. So I'm going to swipe down here. I'm looking for something like the SwellPro, and there it is at the very bottom. It's called SWP, and you're going to have some letters and numbers. So I'm going to connect to that. And then we need to punch in the password. And in the SwellPro instruction book, it's just saying it's 1 through 8. 7, 8, and join. And we're joined to the SwellPro network. And all that means is this is connected to this. Where I downloaded the SD Fly app, I'm going to click on it to open it up. Let's see what happens here. Cool. So initial boot up here, we have would like to find and connect to devices. Okay. Go ahead and do it. And let's see if it can find it. So I get a little timing icon, and there we go. Login device. Cool. So I'm already seeing some camera in the background. You see that there? We need it to use our location, so let's let it use it while it's using the app. So I'm going to press OK there. And these are just the things you have to kind of authorize for it to really work correctly. Definitely very blurry because I've got the controller like right in front of it. It looks like it might have like a longer focal length. Like you've got to be farther away from an item or else it stays pretty blurry. But that's basically our lag time, and that's pretty quick. It's really only about maybe 100 milliseconds, if even that. We do have a map here. Now, since we're already using the Wi-Fi, and this is a Wi-Fi only tablet, you're probably not going to have this problem if you're connected to your phone, because if you have a service plan with wireless on your phone, it's going to be able to pull in the internet for the map. But since I don't have an extra antenna on this, it doesn't know what to do. So we click on the map. I'm noticing that these icons are all pretty small, so it may be good to have a larger tablet like this. But I'm noticing on the top, if I click on this is how you can kind of do all your waypoints and stuff. You see how I'm just changing the different types of waypoints. So here's the drone in the middle here, and where I am, it's going to have both the controller location and the drone location on your map. It looks like depending on which functions you want to do, you can do your waypoints right here. So you see how I'm just clicking waypoints. So pretty neat. So you can basically do waypoints out of the box with this drone. Don't have to download or have any extra equipment. So pretty cool. You see how if I'm clicking on the waypoint, actually this menu just pops right up, so I can change height and all that stuff. So you can save your mission. You can go into the folder here. There's no data if you want to open other missions. If you want to just delete the whole thing, I'm just pressing the garbage can up there. Zero in on center your home position, and also just center on the drone. What is slightly unfortunate here is when I was reading in the instruction manual, it said you had the option when you're in the map to download the map imagery, and I don't see really that option right now. It looks like it may have gone and reconnected to the drone. So what I want to do is kind of reconnect to my home Wi-Fi and see if I can even download the map like it says. There we go. So you see how the map just initially came in immediately when I connected to my home Wi-Fi. So it did definitely allow me to pull in a section of the map when I switched between SwellPro Wi-Fi and my home Wi-Fi. But it looks like that might be just a little bit clunky. I'm not sure how that's going to work. Probably better if you just have like a phone or device that has that internet connection wherever you are, so you can pull in those maps. Anyway, that's the map. We just want to kind of delete that, not save anything, go back to the video. So pretty awesome. Just like other drones, you go back into the video and then you can see your map over here. You've got compass, you've got a little couple other things, very small little icons. You can make it disappear, make it reappear with this little magnifying glass. Hit GPS point. Oh, cool. And that brings us to like our compass. Pretty cool. If we just click on that again, it brings us back to our regular map. Awesome. So while we have this interface up and we know it's got really good latency, not bad at all for this type of drone, let's go ahead and go into the interface and see what's up here. So over here it's saying not armed. Like I was saying, a little bit small icons, especially for this iPad mini. It's saying ADI mode, 10 satellites, good controller signal, 16.3 volts of battery. This is a little options menu we're going to check out in just a second. This looks like our camera icon we're also going to check out. This would be the capacity of video on the SD card in the camera. The camera is at 1080p at 60 frames per second. That's that camera with that light on it. Over here it's just kind of giving us general information on how our camera is set up and what are the settings. Picture mode, video mode, and then we have a little play icon here which will get us into our taken video and pictures. We can play that. Just right on the screen, pretty right in the middle, is our height, vertical speed, horizontal speed, and distance. So the same thing, remember, that was on the controller down here is showing us in here. So you have at least two places to see all that. And then we can do kind of automated on-screen takeoff. Just slide to take off like other drones. Not going to do that right now. And return to home. Slide to return to home. Let's go ahead and click on the settings and see what we got. You can see how it's just kind of a gray screen. We can choose between camera and video. And then we can choose our video resolution. Full HD, since this is that lit camera. Here are all the options to choose from that. And then we can choose just video format, movie or MP4 for this camera. All we can do for the regular pictures is just burst in different modes of 3 to 10. If I go over here to the gear icon, I have a little more options. So pretty simple, not much going on here still with the SplashDrone camera settings. And all we got left, guys, is 3 little dots on the top right, and that's going to get us into the main settings of the drone. So I just open that up. We kind of have a transparent menu. You can still see our video in the background. And we have everything looks like it's in meters. What I always like to do is check out, if we go into advanced settings here, I just wanted to see if there is a different type of measurement system. Calibrate IMU, if you're having problems flying and stuff, you can recalibrate that. Calibrate the compass, you're gonna need to do this once, like in a outside flying area when you first get it, or if you travel like 100 miles away from where you flew before, you also need to do that compass cal, which we will do in our flight test. Out of control default, always good to have it return to home. You can also make it just hover or land where it is if it loses control with the controller or signal with the controller. Green and red blinking here, or you can have all of them just completely off. So you can turn those green and reds off if you really wanted to. So unfortunately, I'm not seeing any option to change this to like imperial, foot, miles per hour and stuff. So maybe something that they can, you know, kind of work on. But anyway, we can adjust our return to home height. So you can go between 20 and 60 meter options here. It's set at 25 by default, which is fine. Max flight height and max distance, it's already set at 3,000 meters. And you can set to 0 to disable it. So if we do a range test, I'm just going to disable it. Down here below advanced settings, which we already kind of went into, we've got a cruise mode, headless mode, orbit mode, ADI mode, or sports mode. Still like a little bit clunky, not the best, because you don't know really what you're doing in the menu here. It's like, is this turning on these modes? I guess we've got to be flying to make sure it's really working. A little bit to be desired. I would have thought maybe they would have upgraded that menu a little bit more. I mean, don't get me wrong, at least it's all digital and you're able to choose some settings, but it just kind of seems like they took that Wi-Fi cam app and integrated it a little bit into like a digital drone app, and then that's how far they've come so far. So a little bit lackluster compared to other drones, but hey, you know, it's a step in the right direction. Press and hold payload left. Oh, cool. We can't hit it by accident. Remember in the old one, like you could really release it just from accidentally hitting a switch, or the toggle switch. So this makes you actually press and hold, and it's coming back to its start position. So that's kind of cool. Okay guys, now check this out. I was thinking that it was maybe the payload right side that does the light. If you press this 3 times, it puts it in kind of a payload mode where the craft will actually fly slower, so you don't accidentally like really pitch it too far. Like if you're putting your fishing line, your fishing rig out there, it won't like pitch and cut your line off or something if you're pulling it out from your reel. Hit it 3 times again, and you're gonna feel like a vibration on the controller, and that gets you back into regular flight mode. So apparently with the camera with the light on here, the left roller actually turns the light off and on. So pulling back on the roller to the left does nothing, but watch when I push it to the right. You can actually change the intensity. Isn't that awesome? By pushing the roller more and more to the right. So that's maximum brightness. And then I take my right-hand side roller and I can move the camera up and down. So if you're fishing or you're doing night stuff, whatever, you totally have the ability, look at that, to just light up whatever you want. And that is what you're going to see, you know, in your video here. The video looks pretty darn blurry because of that focal length isn't so good close up. So let's see if it actually will focus in a little farther back if I point this at the couch. There we go. Yeah, so that's nice and clear. That looks like it's in focus. So definitely needs to be like a few feet away from the camera to actually focus in. Arming is just pulling both sticks down and in and holding them there. And there we go. So that sucker is ready to go. Of course, I'm not putting the propellers on and arming it in the house because that would be very dangerous. They're very sharp propellers. So to shut off, you can just pull the throttle down and hold it. And there we go. Last thing I'm going to do real quick, guys, is I want to just show you how to quickly put on these propellers and then we'll wrap it up. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I still have this thing on. It's been on for literally like about a half hour while I've been shooting this video, and I'm not getting any problems with the video. I have my iPad still on here. Nothing's locking up. It seems like nothing's overheating. So this will be a really good like table test. A lot of the other drones, like remember the Mavic Mini and the Fimi X8 I just reviewed? If you have them booted up in your house like this and you're trying to do stuff, they just overheat. And sometimes they'll just shut right off. Really simply just pull my motor over here. And you only can put these on one way. So you basically just spin the motor until it kind of drops in. You see how you get that initial drop. Hold the whole bottom of the arm and the motor, just so you're taking the pressure off the bottom of the arm, and also you can just lock the motor and hold it. And then we're pushing down and then giving it a nice little clockwise spin on this counterclockwise motor to lock it in. It pops back up and it won't move. Okay, turning over to the clockwise one, same idea. We get the CW to the CW. Just kind of hold the motor, spin it till it like just drops in a little. So down, push it really hard, turn it counterclockwise, and then just let up. Give it a quick little shake, hold the motor, and make sure it's not going to fly off the motor. Anyway, guys, I hope that was really informative for you. I know it was a pretty long unboxing, setup, and inspection video, but really just like to do these so you guys kind of know everything you need to know before you get up there and fly. And just kind of inspect it with me, look at everything close up, see what all the buttons do. You know, I've got high hopes for this thing. They've got a lot of new technology they've put into this, a lot of new design add-ons. We're definitely stoked that they went the all digital route, so you don't have to have like these separate apps, and we have a scratchy analog FPV kind of following suit and finally catching up to some of the more advanced, smarter drones. So in the next video, we're going to take this thing to the park, do a full-on flight test, and really test the features before I take it in the water. So this is definitely going to be like a series of 4 or 5 videos of just this initial unboxing, the initial flight test in the park, putting everything to the test like I normally do and go through all of its options, see how the camera is, see how the recording is. I'm going to pop that other camera on there too, that 4-axis camera I also got. This one will just be for like night fishing and stuff. Now we're going to do our water test. So I really like to test these things and see if they can really do what they say they're going to do in the water. Like if this one now claims it will just flip up automatically when you arm it, if it's upside down, and all these kinds of things. So I really want to test those out. I want to see, kind of crash it in the ocean water, see how ocean proof it is or not. I'm here in Hawaii, so I can really put these things through the test that claim they're ocean proof and waterproof. I want to do a fishing video. I did one with the SplashDrone 3 Plus. I kind of went through how much you could carry on it, how that whole process went of loading up your bait, connecting it to the bottom of the drone, taking it out there, pulling the line off of your pole, right? And then dropping it where you want it to drop for like big game fishing and stuff. So definitely going to do that with this one as well. And since I have this night camera with this high intensity LED light, I definitely want to take that out there in the nighttime and do some night fishing, or even just like night exploration around the coast. That would be kind of cool. Anyway, guys, lots more to come with the SwellPro 4. It is a promising drone. It looks like they've worked on it a lot and they've made it a lot better, a lot easier to use. I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching, and let's go fly this thing.